Oh, we're live. Hi, everybody. Welcome to tonight's really special Wattpad for Girl Power Chat, featuring some really special guests. I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves, but I'm Rebecca Skye, author of Arrowheart. I don't know if you can see that. And super stoked to be here today. I'll let it go down to our first guest.
Is that me?
That's you, sure.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Lauren Palphreyman. I'm the author of Cupid's Match on Wattpad, which has recently been made into a pilot episode for CW Seed. It's also out as an audiobook with Hachette. And yeah, that's me.
Nice. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Allie.
All right. Hi, I'm Allie Novak, and I'm the author of The Heartbreak Chronicles, and I'm also the author of My Life with the Walter Boys, which was just optioned by Comics and Sony Television Pictures to become a TV show.
They're the same ones who did Kissing Booth?
Correct.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So hopefully something exciting like that happens. We'll see. Yes. But yeah, I'm super stoked to be here tonight.
Yay. All right, girls, why don't you introduce yourselves?
All right, I'll go out of the way. I'm Fallon DeMornay. I'm the author of Stiletto Sisterhood on Wattpad. I'm known for girls who like to smash the patriarchy, and currently on submission. Hopefully we'll have something to sell soon.
Who's next? The order is weird.
Just go.
Go, Lindsay. Okay. So I'm Lindsay Summers, aka Do Not Microwave on Wattpad. I wrote The Cell Phone Swap, which is the published version of Textrovert, or flip that around. Sorry. It's been a long day.
It's Monday.
Yeah, seriously. And I'm writing co-authoring a book with Fallon called Lost Girls, which is a Sailor Moon-esque type of story. We're really excited. Fingers crossed.
Don't be shy.
Is Monica going? Monica's next, isn't she?
Yes. I'm Monica, gamer on Wattpad and the author of the forthcoming book, Seventh Ring. It'll be out September 4th.
Woo. And we're very excited.
Now you can go, Leah.
Okay, I'm Leah. I write SLD Crichton. I'm the author of All Our Broken Pieces, which comes out May 7th, 2019 with Hyperion. Yay.
Woohoo!
So excited.
I know, I can't wait for this one.
And I am E. Latimer, and I wrote The Strange and Deadly Portraits of Bryony Gray, as well as Frost over on Wattpad. And I am currently writing a book about man-eating witches, man-eating feminist witches. Yes. So fingers crossed that sells.
Fitting.
Nice. Lots of stuff going on this group of girls. Okay, so we're here talking about girl power because obviously that's a big part of all our lives. You could even just hear that in your pitches and what you guys are writing. So Allie, let's start with you and just go down the line. And I want to know what power in the girl power means to you.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I
know. For me, I think it means, kind of being able to be comfortable in who you are as a person, like comfortable, confident, and also being able to kind of state your opinion and be true to your beliefs. I grew up in a family with a lot of boys, and sometimes I felt like I was kind of not heard because there was all these loud boy voices. And so that's really important to me.
I like it. Lauren, you want to go?
Yeah, sure. I think for me, it's probably, I guess, being able to feel that your opinion is valid. Being able to, to state what you think and who you are without I guess the fear of a judgment or backlash for that, a freedom to do that, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
That, yeah.
Anyone else want to answer that?
Are we going down the line?
Sure, go down the line. That's you.
I'm at the end of the line. How did I get to the front?
Oh, really? Not on my screen.
Yeah.
Everyone
that's
sees a
hilarious.
different arrangement.
Line
So
skipper. No.
So it's what is the power and girl power? I think is raising my daughters to believe that they can do whatever the heck they want to do. Like if they want to be a mechanic, hell yeah, or a ballerina, I'm down with that.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
And raising my son to, be a feminist.
oh yeah.
I don't know. I just think it means that you can do whatever you want, and surrounding yourself by other girls like you girls. There's my answer. Someone else go.
I think that pretty much.
I'll quickly say, because I just had a son, and I get the same thing all the time. Whenever I go out, it's like, oh, where's your son today? And I'm like, he's with his dad. And then when Sean goes out, he doesn't get that same question. So I really want to smash gender norms, because I think they damage men and women. You know
what I hate? Sorry, can I interrupt?
Yeah, no, go for it.
When they're like, "Oh, so you're babysitting?"
No.
So the dad.
Oh,
You're
right. It's
babysitting.
exactly.
You're
Yeah.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
so child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Aaron.
I think that's big key, that girls should get equal unbiased opportunity, and we don't. And so for me, girl power is fighting until we do have that. And I think, Fallon, you shared a quote the other day. Was it from Rumi or something about standing on the mountain of the, what is that? That was amazing.
Let me pull it up, because I'm probably going to botch it if I don't have it in front of me.
Oh,
but it
Strider has opinions.
That's not Strider. That's Danielle's dog.
Oh, okay.
I never talk about him because I secretly hate him.
Super secretly.
I stand on the sacrifices of a million women before me, thinking, what can I do to make this mountain taller so the women after me can see farther?
Oh, I love it.
And I thought that's just such a profound.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I love her poem.
Yeah, she's amazing, and she's a really good step into my next question, which is there a woman that just encompasses girl power or women's strength that you look up to?
Me first?
Yeah.
Well, I think this is a little cliche, but I feel like every girl kind of feels like they have to say their mother, especially for me, because my father passed away when I was in high school, and I watched my mom raise my brother and sister on their own, and the difference, seeing the difference between how I was raised when my dad was around versus how much more my mom had to do when it was just her I saw that. I got to see the difference. And then besides my mother, I would have to say in the literary world, who doesn't look up to J.K. Rowling? She has such a cool story, and she's so creative. But on top of that, she is not afraid to say what she thinks, and she uses her platform to fight for what she believes in. And I think that's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, she's awesome.
Well, J.K. Rowling, I'd have to go with Emma Watson, I think, as a symbol of power and empowerment. To see her transition, Hermione Granger, to the young woman that she's evolved into today, and things that she's spoken up for and become part of. I think she's a phenomenal role model for young women today.
what I like about Emma is that she's not afraid to admit when she's wrong either. She says sorry a lot for things that she says, which I think is awesome, and that's a great example. Lauren, how about you?
Oh,
I think
Me? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, definitely J.K. Rowling, Emma Watson. I'm a huge fan of Reese Witherspoon as well. I love the kind of the production company that she's kind of co-founded that really centers on women and kind of creating great female-led content, because I don't think that we get very much of that within kind of the entertainment industry. So like she did a really good speech actually, and I can't remember when it is. I'll share it on my Twitter afterwards, but just about kind of the way that she always kind of dreaded reading the kind of scripts that would get sent her way, that she just knew there were no women involved in kind of creating it, and there would always be like a line in it where the woman would turn to the man and be like, oh, what do we do now? And she's kind of like, well, when in real life do women actually ever do that? So yeah, I'm a big fan of hers. Yeah, I don't know. There's quite a lot of women, I think, that I would say that I look up to.
Leah?
Oh, me?
Oh, I think Madonna.
Madonna?
She had a phenomenal speech. God, I saw, I think 2 months ago, and she was talking about her experience.
Oh.
Is there like a delayed reaction?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out who was speaking.
I think it was Fallon, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Madonna's like the original, though. I feel like the original girl power, like, well, maybe not the original, but like one of the loudest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
mean, she
definitely
was
one of the
when
most
she
vocal.
came out.
Yeah.
Just completely unapologetic about pretty much everything. Like back in the day, like coming out with her little wedding dress, and
Oh yeah.
I think I just aged myself. But yeah,
I remember so much controversy about her videos and stuff being played on TV.
the rest of us are like, yeah. I mean, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
But she's always pushed, the boundary. Yeah,
totally.
I love Madonna.
Yeah, there was a lady in high school. She's one of my role models, and she is a judge. She married a guy who was 10 years younger than her, and she helped start this program to empower girls. And so she set up. She had mentors from the community, so we had like CSI agents and like police officers and doctors and all these powerful women in the community. And then we got to pair up with them, and we went on hikes and did a bunch of seminars and stuff like that. And I like absolutely love her. Like if I could be her, I would.
That's so cool.
That's really cool.
I love that.
Yeah, we
I
don't.
remember reading.
I'm
sorry.
No, go ahead, Monica.
Oh no, I was gonna say I remember reading an article that it said like once girls get to like 5th grade, their interests in math and science just declines, and then they start, and that's usually when they start like bombarding them with ads about beauty and all that. And I just, for her to actually like bring women that are in these successful positions, I think that's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like to remind them that you don't just have to worry about, your looks. It's nothing wrong with that, but you can also be a scientist and an astronaut and whatever.
Options.
Yeah, and I loved it too because she did it from all sectors of the community. Like it wasn't just white women either. It was a lot of women of color and also like people who had different sexuality. And so I really enjoyed it. And especially at that age, I was 17 at the time, it really impacted how I thought about women and, especially my future in college and stuff, thinking about what I want to be when I grow up kind of thing. I think was really neat.
Yeah, we don't all have a platform as big as Madonna, but we can still impact girls in our own communities like that. Yeah, one day. Not yet, anyways. But no, like how that judged it. Like she impacted a small group of girls that has now continued to snowball, and I think that's really cool.
I also have to say I really like Roxanne Gay.
Yeah, that's cool.
She's written like a lot of really good feminist books, but she's also just like so completely badass on Twitter. Like I've never like replied to her too much about anything. Just like I kind of just like watch from afar because she's just says whatever is on her mind, and I like admire her so much for that. I'm like, I could never do that. And she just, I don't know. I love her Twitter. I love it.
You're slowly like creeping. Like
that's essentially it.
Yeah. Monica, did you share who your lady power?
Did I? No, but now that Lindsay mentioned someone like, you know, in her community, I guess someone that impacted me, and I didn't realize it until way later, was when I was in, I think it was 6th grade. I was 12, so I guess that's 6th grade or so. There was this teacher's aide that she would take a group of us aside and like, you know, we would read a book or whatever. And on her last day, she gave me a copy of The Handmaid's Tale. And I remember reading it, and it was just
in what grade were you?
I know. I know, but I remember reading it, and it was, I mean, it opened my eyes to a lot of stuff, but just to think of that actually ever happening, I think also molded, like, it started opening my eyes to like real injustices in the world. So, I mean, it was pretty brave of her at that age to gift me that book, but I guess at that time, like, you know, I was always more mature than, you know.
You still are.
Yeah. but I would probably say her, just because that it was like a way to show young girls, like, you know, this is happening and you can do something about it. So
cool. Mine is Ellen DeGeneres. I love her. She, I was raised in a very conservative Christian home where you don't talk about your sexuality, you don't talk about same-sex relationships, and she really like helped me feel brave enough to eventually tell people I was bisexual. And yeah, I love everything she stands for, her generosity and kindness and spreading that message. I really look up to her for that.
And she's so cute.
Yeah.
I love Ellen.
Yeah, I think that she's a good example that girl power doesn't mean you always have to, you know, bear swords and kick ass, but you can do it with kindness too.
Yeah.
Okay, so my next question is a bit hard, and feel free to pass if you want to or answer if you want to. I won't force it down anybody. But have you ever been in a situation where you were made to feel that girl and power do not coexist?
I used to work in quite a male-dominated company, and I would find that quite a lot I would be spoken over in meetings. Like a lot of very little things, but it kind of adds up, and yeah, that was definitely a frustration for me for a while, actually, in that company, for sure.
Yeah, that is frustrating. Yeah. Were you able to ever speak up for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, like I would always make sure that, you know, my point would be eventually heard, but it was just, you'd see it happening kind of to other women as well. So you'd be in kind of a group meeting, and it would just be the men kind of talking over like the two women that were there or whatever. And I think in those situations, it's always quite helpful to kind of make sure that you're kind of, I guess, asking the other woman, like if somebody is interrupting you, the other woman, then to kind of
support.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Back up. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't though. Like I've been in corporate for 10 years and I've dealt with a lot of similar stuff to what you've gone through.
Totally true.
On top of that, like, you know, it's such a boys club in the corporate world, and I've dealt with all kinds of inappropriate innuendos. Or one company I worked for, I was subject of a bet for all the guys to see who could get me into bed. And I did a company that there was this running bet going on. Another company I went to, I sat down with the board of directors and the CEO at a corporate Christmas party, not even like dressed up, and I was compared to a stripper and made fun of for an hour in front of all these powerful men. And I realized it doesn't matter how hard I work or how much I apply myself to a company, I am an object.
That sucks that that's your experience, because I work in a male-dominated industry for certain. Like, I see it all the time. But the company I work for is really good, even though there's more boys than girls. Our CFO is a woman, and she's pretty awesome. And I don't know, that stuff would never fly, I guess.
I wonder if that's partly why, if you have a female CEO, that shit does not fly.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't think so. I think they're all pretty solid people, but it's all people have known each other for a while too.
But I mean, when you have someone like Fallon's situation, you don't know sometimes how deep it goes. Like the people that are getting hired in the first place, if it's like an old boys club type situation, they're gonna be the people that aren't necessarily going to be respectful, because that's not an important thing to that person doing the hiring. So
yeah,
our HR person is a lady too. So there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Those are the two areas you want women: HR, CEO.
Yeah.
And you know what? Everyone's happy at work. There you go.
Yeah, you know what? The company that I just left, I was at my happiest there too when we had a woman CEO, for sure. Because it just leveled out a lot of that crap. And yeah.
Makes a difference. I will say, like, some of the times where I felt like the least powerful, I guess, if you want to say that, are like in situations where like women are physically smaller. Like, that's a fact. And like, I used to ride the subway a lot in Vancouver, and I had a man follow me off shouting like rape and death threats at me, because I guess he had tried to say something to me when my headphones were in and I didn't hear him. Lord. And I was pregnant at the time. So of course, all I'm thinking is, what if he attacks me? I'm like 5 months pregnant. And so it was just amazing, because I got on, I didn't pick up on the signs. I should have seen it. Like, I got on and all of the women that were in that train car compartment all flooded off past me. And I just like didn't even notice, because they were all like, nobody said anything to him. All their eyes were down on the ground. All of them were like super like uncomfortable. And I just like, I should have been paying more attention to my surroundings and noticed that, because as soon as I got on, he started. And it was just like situations like this all the time.
But I hate that. I hate that you say I should have paid more attention, because you shouldn't have to like protect yourself from having to be raped. There should just not be rapists out there. Like,
unfortunately, public transport.
Yeah.
Like, that's why, like, sometimes that does make you feel powerless, because you're like, what am I going to do? I'm not going to challenge him and be like, hey, stop saying those horrible things to me. You know, just be like, he was ranting and obviously hated all women, because he said there were 2 men on the train. They did nothing, for one thing. They just didn't say anything or do anything. And then he didn't say anything to the 2 dudes. I'm not sure if I would say, like, as a man, you should say something, but like, I wouldn't have minded if someone had got off with me. You know what I mean? And just been like, hey, just so you know, like, I'll walk you out. Because the dude followed me off and followed me all the way down.
Do you guys not have security buttons everywhere? Like, we have security buttons every foot on the train to push. You don't have those? It's like big red help buttons.
I remember.
We have like big yellow strips that run all the way down.
Yeah, I think we have the strips.
Oh, okay.
But again,
I would have been like pushing that thing.
I should have. And see, that's another thing where I'm like, oh, I should have done all these things, but you kind of just like panic in the moment, right?
Totally.
It's terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I once had an experience, it was somewhat different. So I had a job and something had happened in it. And I was talking to my boyfriend at the time about it, how unfair it was being. And he was like, oh, well, one day I'll make a lot of money and then buy the company and like get back at them for you. And I was always, and in that moment, I didn't think about it. But later on, I was like, why can't I be the one making the money and getting back at it? Why are you the one? I was like, don't you believe in me? Like, and it was like those little cultural norms that you just don't think about. And then later on, I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah. Oh, and you don't same as, Fallon was saying how much the sexual harassment was just like a part of work. When I was like 19 to 25 or something, I worked at like a Thrifty's grocery store. I look back and I'm like, I cannot believe the daily amount of sexual harassment that went on. And I didn't even know or realize, I didn't find it flattering. I was like, okay, can you stop now? But at the same time, I also didn't take it as seriously. Like if I heard that now, someone saying that to a 19-year-old girl, I'd be like, and these were like 30, 35-year-old men, some of them. And I was like, no, slow your roll. This is not okay. Someone should have reported them. But it was just what happened.
Yeah, I definitely had that kind of same experience. I've never worked in the corporate world, but when I was in college, I worked at a private country club as a cart girl. So you can imagine the kind of comments you would get from 60-year-old men. But the worst comment that I ever got was from someone who's probably only 5-10 years older than me. And it was right after 50 Shades of Grey came out. And unlike normal golf courses, the cart girl will drive the cart around the course. But the course that I worked at, there was a pavilion out in the middle of the course, and I would work there. And so I didn't have to drive around. So if there were no customers, I could just sit and read a book. And so I always used to just lay in the sun and read a book. And one time I was reading, and a group of probably late 20s guys came up to me, and they asked me what I was reading, and I told them. And they asked me, had I ever read 50 Shades of Grey? And I knew it was popular at the time, but I hadn't yet read it. And one of them had read the series. I think he was talking about how his girlfriend or whatever had read the series and really liked it. So he read them. And they were talking about all of the different sex toys that were used in the novel. And one of the guys turned to me and said, I bet you would look really great with nipple clamps on.
Oh my God.
And I just it was one of those things where you just freeze and you don't even know what to say.
Because you're stupefied at the idiocy.
They would actually say something like that.
But kind of the same thing that Aaron said was obviously that comment, I will always remember, but daily you would get comments that I, at the time, I just ignored, or I was like, well, that's part of my job. I'm serving drinks, but I also had a manager tell me that my job was to stand out there and look pretty. Ooh. So at the time, I didn't really realize just the kind of stuff that people were saying to me and how inappropriate it was. And if someone had said something to me today, the reaction out of me would be completely different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I evaluation at my first job, I was called in by the office manager to tell me that everything about my job performance was fine. I wasn't social enough. I wasn't stopping what I was doing to flirt with the guys when they walked through the door. I wasn't, batting my lashes and twirling my hair. So the next day she's like, just for laughs, just come in and play the Barbie like they want you to, and let's see how that goes. So I came in decked to the nines, hair, makeup, heels, the works, tightest skirt that I owned. I sat behind my desk and I did nothing, absolutely nothing. Within 45 minutes, I had the CEO, who was traveling in London, call me directly on the reception line, which he never does, to thank me and tell me how amazing I am for this company and how, I'm such an asset to the company. And if I ever need anything, his door is always open.
The last line is like,
yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure it is.
I think so many times that women are judged based off of their appearances and not off of their looks, compared to men who is based off of their resume and and it's just so unfair. I remember I had a job as a assistant buyer for a company, and there was this one department, clothing department, and he only hired like really pretty girls. And like he just like his whole department was stacked, right? And then I got transferred over into because he requested me, but like I wasn't prepared for it. Like I wasn't qualified to have that job, and I struggled so hard, but it was just because he just based it off of looks. And it was really unfair, especially to one of my friends who deserved that job.
It's a good way to run your company into the ground, to be honest.
It sounds like there's quite a few companies we need to purchase, girls. Balance Old Thing, the Country Club, that clothing thing.
The first one on my list is the Cactus Club.
Oh, they're awful.
Those people.
I had a roommate that worked
gross.
there, and they sent her home because she didn't look pretty enough that day, and she had to put more makeup on.
If they don't wear like a certain level of heel, like if it's not tall enough, come on, if your butt doesn't look good enough, that's what it is. They send you home. Your heels aren't tall enough, go change. Like, what about girls that cannot wear heels? What if like that's so ableist, right?
I so would not get hired there.
You have to be, as your face has to look a certain way. You have to be a certain body weight, and you have to wear a certain thing, or you don't get hired. I had a full argument with my husband's friend because he was like, this is a total legitimate hiring practice. This is what they do, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you wouldn't hire ugly strippers. And I'm like, not the same thing. You should be able to get a restaurant job. Not the same thing. That argument. So,
it's like, what does being a model have to do with serving tables?
Yeah, exactly. Well, just the fact that he brought that up as like a comparison, I was like, okay, that tells me all I need to know about your argument.
So you guys all have voices on Wattpad and in your writing careers. How do you translate that frustration and that empowerment to women into your work? I just totally hit my dog in the head. Sorry, buddy.
Aw, puppy.
Sorry.
I've definitely had a lot of work experience, all of my work-related sexist crap into for sure. I'm punishing men now in my stories.
You're saying all the things to them that you couldn't say in real life.
Yeah, and keep my job.
For me, I know like I grew up with a very horrible father, and he would say things like, oh, you can't do that, you're a girl, or girls aren't good as guys. And so I was really inspired to be a good athlete because that's what mattered to him. I used to race skiing professionally before my health problems kicked in. But so like for me, when I'm writing a story, it's important to me that my girls can do whatever it is they want to do. If they want to be a professional athlete, if they want to be a lawyer or a doctor, there's no gender biases. They can kick ass in whatever, in school, in glee club, whatever it is they want to do. That's, they can be themselves and kick ass. And that's kind of how I translate that into my work.
For me, I think writing romance, it's so saturated with like girls being saved that I really dig making girls save themselves.
Or save the guy.
At the very least, she saves the guy, and he might kind of save her too a little bit. But so it's not just, oh, he just made my life so worth living, and I try not to do that.
You don't want them to complete her?
No, not really, because she's already usually pretty complete when I start on page 1.
My story that I'm writing right now, like the guy views, it's a romance. So the guy views her as his kind of like savior, and she's like, and like his like everything. And she's like, I don't want to be your everything. Like, she's like, I have enough going on in my own life. Like,
I love that.
Like fix yourself, I'll fix me, and then we can come together and be together kind of thing, which I really like.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Love it.
That's perfect. Yeah.
I just got a really cool review on my book, and they said something like, these characters didn't come together because of attraction. They came together because they're two humans, had conversations and things in common. I'm like, yeah, that's how it should just be, you know, like real people, in my opinion anyways, not just like the Insta attraction and the girl throwing everything away for that. I like it when girls have their own agency separate and the romance is just a bonus.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that in all of you girls' work. That's why you're here on this girl panel chat, because you're also kick-ass in what you do there. Does anybody else want to share about that?
Yeah, I'll say I really love unlikable characters, and it really irks me because a lot of the women characters that are considered unlikable, like the reactions from the readers really irritate me, because like the male characters can do literally anything. And I did an experiment with this on Wattpad. I had the most horrible male love interest, and he literally like was threatening to kill her and all this stuff, and he stalked her and he watched her sleep and like all of the like class A creepy shit that you can think of, including like he killed her cat.
What?
And yes. And I still had like 50% of my readers being like, but he's
No.
But I still love him.
So bad. He's a bad boy. I love him.
Yeah, they should get together. And then he was basically like did a full like if I can't have you, no one can. And he was going to kill her, and they were still wanted them to be together. And I was like, I give up. I can't do this.
I kind of did an experiment like that too. So I started writing my life with the Walter Boys when I was 15. And I think we all know, like, as we grow, we, learn. And at the time, like, what girl didn't love a bad boy? So like the main love interest in the Walter Boys is definitely not a character that I would probably write nowadays. Or the kind of guy that I would want my main character having a relationship with. And in a different series that I've written, and everyone loved, all the readers on Wattpad loved that character despite his issues. And I did a spin-off series, and it features this character's daughter. And I just wanted to see how readers would treat a girl that kind of acted the same way.
Badly.
And everyone hated her just for going after what she wanted and, having an opinion. And yes, she was selfish. But just the negative reaction that I got because that girl wasn't like the sweetheart, or she was a strong woman and people hated her for it. And yeah.
That's why I'm really determined to populate my, like, because I love unlikable characters to begin with. And so I want more like women unlikable characters, and for it to be like, get used to it. Fallon's waving her hand over here.
When
It's
when you get comments like that.
Yeah.
Sorry, Fallon.
Boys are allowed to be this way. We need to let girls be this way too.
Yeah. Do you like, when you get those comments on Wattpad, do you actually kind of call it out, or do you just ignore it?
At first I would call it out. At first I went to defend the character, like, well, she's this way because of this. And then the more I did that, I was like, I shouldn't have to explain this to people. Like, I shouldn't have to defend a character for being who she is. So I just ignore it now. I don't know. What do you do, Erin?
Well, when I did the actual thing, I think I was like so shocked that I was like, what is wrong with you guys? I didn't say that to anyone. But I definitely, because people would post on my wall and be like, please make them get together and blah, blah, blah. I want them to be together. And then I would reply, because I'd be like, you realize that he's like a stabby, stalker, serial killer, murderer, and he murdered her cat. Like, he's not a good guy. And so I would like, and I think I even sent out like a message being like, hey guys, like, this isn't a good character, just so you know, like, not shipping them.
Having to explain it.
Because I was really baffled.
Sorry,
This guy would end up on Dateline, like, for sure.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's a really good question, though, Lauren. Like, what is our responsibility to that sort of thing? What do you guys think?
I think it's important to call it out. The only downside is because it's on Wattpad, like, you'd either have to address each individual comment. Probably what I think would be easiest is just to put a disclaimer addressing it in general, just so if any future readers pop in, rather than having to go again and again and again and it getting lost and like that constant, because some of you guys get like so many comments, it's just going to get drowned and everything. So maybe having like a disclaimer, like, look, this is why this is, you know, a problem. This is why this is an issue. And
I did end up doing that, Fallon. I put a disclaimer on like the first chapter, and I still get comments, but at that point, it's just like
the lost cause.
Yeah, like
yeah, I've done the same. I've done disclaimers too for that.
Unfortunately, it's a trickle down effect from a society that's skewed and messed up in favor of men, and there's only so much you can do on a level that's like, hey, change the way you react, readers. Like, you can call it out and you can say, look, like, this is the response that I expected for this character, but you can't be like, you're not allowed to like this. You can't necessarily control that. So there's only so much you can do. I hope, like, going forward, that if I write unlikable female characters now, but I hope I make them interesting enough so that people like them or are at least interested in them. And if I write a male character like that, I'm hoping to like deconstruct it in the narrative of my story so that people, maybe they're interested in that character, but they realize, you know, as they read further, that like he's not, you know, this is not going to have a happy ending, and it shouldn't, you know, that type of thing. Because I think you can write toxic romances, but they shouldn't end well, because they never do in real life.
Or you really got to like dismantle that toxicity, confront it head on, you know? Like, I read one called Asking for It by Layla Price, and it actually deals with like rape fetish taboo. And honestly, I never thought I would have that be sold for me, like where it would actually work. But what worked about it is they didn't make excuses for this behavior. They didn't try to justify it away and say that that's acceptable behavior. And they tackled it head on. And then in the end, it doesn't end well. But because, as you said, like, toxic relationships like this, they generally shouldn't end well. It should be a process of breaking it all down and confronting it.
Anybody else want to comment on that? We are moving into the last 20 minutes, and there is some questions on Twitter, so I'm gonna skip a few of my questions, but I really want to know, when you were a little girl, what did you dream of doing, and are you doing it, or are you almost doing it? Are you headed that way, or has your dream changed?
Okay, well, I can go first. So one of the books that I remember reading, I feel like everyone has a book that they remember reading when they were little that just like changes their life. And for me, that one of my favorite books was Alana, The First Adventure by Tamara Pierce.
We have a Tamara Pierce fan in the house.
Oh my God, I'm such a huge, I love all of her books. And especially that first series, the Song of the Lioness series, is like, there's so much like awesome girl power in it.
It was amazing. It was amazing.
If you haven't read it, go read it. You have.
Allie and I freaked out in Las Vegas because Tamara Pierce was there, and so we got her autograph and everything. It was so good.
I like walked up to her and like I brought copies of like the books that I bought when I was probably like 14, and I was just like, "Can you please sign this for me?" I was just like, "Oh my God, I was a mess."
I love that.
That book series was one of the book series that inspired me to start writing. So yeah, that's how I got into writing. And And I am doing that now. I write full time. So yeah.
That's the dream.
It is.
I've always been very artistic. I started off wanting to be an animator. And when I was 12, I had this whole plan set, like I'm going to work for Disney and I'm going to do all the movies and stuff. And then I had a teacher give a class assignment where we had to write a novella. It was like a 5-chapter novella. And I wrote this novella, and then the light switched on. I was like, I don't want to draw these movies. I want to write the stories. And it was just like this immediate shift in my brain. It's like, that's it. And writing just became my focus after that.
That's cool.
Should I go? I'll go because everyone's quiet. Oh, okay. Do you want to go? Go ahead.
Yeah, I pretty much always wanted to be a writer, so I'm kind of doing what I wanted to do from being very young. I was always kind of writing stories, and I remember one of my teachers when I was about 10. And she had quite a big impact on me because she used to she always used to support it. And I remember when I kind of left primary school, or I think you might call it elementary school, but she like signed my little yearbook saying, you know, send me your first published book, and that kind of always kind of stuck with me. But yeah, that was kind of what I always wanted to do.
Did you always want to have your book made into a TV show too?
No.
That's just a bonus.
Yeah, just a bonus.
Leah.
Okay. See, now I'm confused about our order again. I grew up with like a mom who was super logical and a dad who was a writer. So that should explain right there. And my mom always told me you couldn't actually make a living being a writer, so that it was good that I liked to do it, but not to choose that as a career. So I wanted to be a pilot, and I'm not that. But I am writing, so there is that.
Now you need to write a book about a pilot.
Yeah, there you go.
Should write a book about a pilot.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Codename Verity. Read that one. It's a good book.
Yeah, I think I also wanted to be a writer from like an early age. I still have a draft of something I wrote when I was like 8. It was really bad, but
Oh my God, share it with us.
Oh, man.
yeah.
Let's see it.
Yeah.
Lindsay?
Okay. I wanted to be a lot of things growing up. I think my first thing is I want to either be an engineer or a scientist, but I don't do well in math. So that was out. And then in high school, I got into mediation. So I was thinking that, or to be like a counselor. And then my actual jobs wasn't anything. It was just like I kind of got by like stroke of luck. Like I became a manager of a create your own cookie store, and I became an assistant buyer for a company that managed gift shops for aquariums and zoos and stuff. So I had a lot of random jobs, and now I write. So my life has gone round in a lot of mazes.
Erin?
Yeah, I'm not very interesting. I just always wanted to be a writer, and now I am.
I like that though. Like I wish that was my story. I always loved writing in high school. I was the nerdy kid that got excited with essays, and I thought my essays were so awesome, and then I'd get like a B or an A- on them, and I was super bummed. But like when it came time for university, I like signed up for this creative writing class, and I was like so excited. I got there a half hour early, and I picked out my desk and had my pencils and everything ready. And then the professor sent us home with a writing assignment. And so I worked on it all week, day and night. And when we got back to class, he's like, okay, everybody stand up and read your assignment. And so I literally excused myself to the bathroom and never went back to that class again because I was like so afraid of people reading my writing. And like fast forward 2 years later, I had millions of reads on Wattpad if I would have known then. But yeah, so I think secretly I always did want to be a writer, but I never like gave myself permission to like embrace that dream, probably because of the voices in my world who are influencing me. But I'm really glad I found Wattpad and such a supportive community. And now I am writing, and it is a dream come true. And it's kind of cool to see all you guys doing something that you love and making a go at it. It's not easy. We don't always make the money we need for our bills, and it's feast or famine being a writer. But you girls are kick-ass. So I'm going to ask one more question, and then we're going to go to Twitter questions. And my question is, what are you most proud of?
Writing-wise, or?
Sure, anything.
I'm gonna let someone else go first this time.
That's so hard to answer.
Okay, I think I have something. This time last year, I was gearing up for Pitch Wars. I had left my former agents. We just weren't seeing eye to eye, and I realized that she wasn't a good fit for me. And I was rewriting a book that I had originally wrote when I was 17 and then just got stuffed in a drawer. And it was one that was very like near and dear to my heart. And I felt kind of let down by my former agent. And I was really doubting myself and guessing myself. But then Pitch Wars was rolling around, and I thought, you know what, I need to get into this competition. I need to push for something to get this book done and just try, because this is something I really believe in. I didn't get into the competition with that book, but I decided I'd done enough with it on my own that I was going to take the chance and just query agents that I had. You know, I put together like a list of like 38. And I decided, like, all right, I didn't get into the competition, so I'm just going to send out these queries and just trust that I've done everything that I can do for this book. And within 3 weeks, I had 6 offerings, and then I signed with my dream agent, and now it's officially on submission. And I'm proud of that, because I got myself to a point that I honestly was like questioning, am I ever going to get there?
And to do it with a book mentor.
Yeah, and now I'm with you. So I'm like a year later how things can change.
Yeah, that's so important to remember too in writing. It's, you know, when you feel like nothing is happening and it's going nowhere, it's like, just stick with it. And it's hard to hear that when you're the one that's waiting, but it really, it sounds cliche, but it's the whole don't give up thing. It's so true.
100%.
And I remember a guy saying on Twitter a while ago, like, I'm so discouraged, and don't tell me to just keep writing. Everyone says that. I'm like, well, everyone's right.
You can do.
Keep
Right.
writing.
Reason.
I'll say quickly, like, obviously I'm very, very proud of this, that I've been waiting to do this for all my life, literally. But you know, when you have like a new shiny project and it's your most proudest achievement, that's where I am right now. So hopefully
that's your feminist witch man-eating book. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's like, I feel like I don't want to like brag, but when you're like, I think this is the best thing I've ever written, or it's total garbage, I don't know which. It's only one or the other.
It can be both. It can be both.
I think for me, my first 2 books that were published were stories that I really, really loved. Like, I was truly inspired to write them. I think writing under contract is something that is a totally different experience. And my 3rd book, Paper Hearts, the concept for it was not necessarily my idea, and it wasn't a passion project. And I think I am most proud of that book because it was such a hard book to write. And like, when I finally finished it, it was like, wow, I did this, versus, you know, my other books where it was like, you're so excited to do it and it's so much fun that this book didn't feel like that. It was a chore. So to like get it done and have it be like my best work, like that was a lot. That was a big accomplishment for me.
A big accomplishment.
That actually is big, I was going to say, because I have to be careful what I take on with contracted work like that, because if I don't love what I'm doing, then I tend to be like, eh.
It's a lesson that I definitely learned the hard way. I was just you know, I had my first contract, but it was just one book. And then I was offered my second contract, which was 2 books. And at the time, I was just so excited to get a second contract that I was like, I will write whatever you tell me to. Like, I'm just excited that I have this. And I let my editor at the time talk me into a story that I wasn't passionate about. But I felt, you know, I didn't have an agent at the time, and I felt like I had no power. And so I was just so excited to have that contract that I didn't even think about how hard it would be to write a book that I didn't love.
Right. It's also that hard thing too, where you're like, you need to eat and pay bills. So, but then also you're like, I don't want to sign up for something I hate. So yeah, it's hard.
All right. Well, we have 5 minutes. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'll take one Twitter question. And who is your favorite female kick-ass girl in a book you've read?
Good question.
Okay, so I already kind of said mine, but I love Alana. That would definitely be my top pick, is Alana from Tamara Pierce's A Song of the Lioness series.
Anyone read And I Darken by Kirsten White?
No, I keep hearing about it.
It's like gender bent Vlad the Impaler.
Of what?
Oh my God, what?
Ooh.
Yeah,
Sounds amazing.
So Vlad is now Lada, and she's this kick-ass girl who just
Stabs people.
lots of stabbing.
So up your alley.
Vlad the Impaler. So yeah, it was like probably the first time where I feel like I saw a girl really taking ownership of what she wanted and kicking ass as she was doing it. So I love that book.
Anybody else?
There's so many.
I know. I'm like trying to think, like, what have I read recently that
I know.
oh.
There's obviously Hermione. Like, you can't not love her.
Right.
Katniss will always have a place in my heart. I loved her.
Yeah, Katniss.
Alex and Female of the Species.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. If you guys
Oh.
haven't read Mindy McGinnis's Female of the Species, read it.
Yes.
I honestly was like blown away by that book.
Oh my gosh, yes.
24 hours, I couldn't put it down, and that doesn't happen to me very often, where I cannot actually put a book down. So
You know what? I loaned it to someone, and this particular individual has not returned books before. And I'm like, this book, you need to return this book. And
Yeah,
she's like,
I have-
"Okay, I will. Did she return my book? No. Do I have it? No. Now I have to buy it again.
you need
Buy
to
the audiobook. The audiobook is amazing.
But I want it for my shelf.
Yeah.
But yes,
I have both too. Because
It's a keeper for sure.
I do that all the
also
time with
one of
books
the
I
best
love. I buy
character
them.
writing I've ever read.
100%.
So good.
Well, I think we're at our hour. Does anybody have anything they want to share? Girls, I want you to pitch what you're working on as well, your next project that we should all be really excited about.
Lindsay.
Nobody?
On our alley first.
Nobody?
I'll just-
Waiting.
Well, I have to finish the Heartbreaker series, which is the series that I was slightly coerced into. With that being said, the last book in this series is one of my favorite characters, so I am super excited about it. But I am working on another project. I've actually been working on it since college. It started out as my senior writing thesis. And it's a book about a girl. She's murdered and then resurrected, and she has to catch her murderer before her father is charged with killing her.
Oh, wow.
So it's about necromancers, and it is an urban fantasy.
Yay for urban fantasy.
Sounds good.
Well, Lindsay did mention we're collaborating on a Sailor Moon book, and it's gonna have like diverse girls, super gritty, and they fight with lightsabers instead of fighting tiaras.
Nice.
Cool.
So cool.
So I'm working on the third Cupid's Matchbook at the moment. And I'm also working on a kind of a dystopian fantasy romance called Ink, which is set in a world where stories are forbidden, and the main character, Elle, has essentially a power that's very dangerous to the kind of dystopian government, in that she can create things with her stories.
That's awesome. I read the first chapter of that and I liked it.
Okay, well, I just came up with a book idea, and I know I shouldn't because I have like at least 5 on the table right now as is, but it's so cool. Okay, so everyone has to tell me like in the comments if you would read it. So it's based off of the 12 Chinese zodiacs, and there's a girl whose family, her family is they've had a lifelong commitment, generations of serving one of the zodiacs, and she's resentful because she wants to do different things in her life. She's a high school girl, and she comes to find out that her parent and the zodiac who they serve is basically this like nut job guy who doesn't want to be immortal anymore, and he just drinks all the time and like and there's this growing evil power that comes, and so her family actually gets slaughtered, and so she wants to get revenge, but she can't do it by herself. She needs her zodiac guy to do it for her. So basically it's her like whipping him into shape, and then there's like this big twist at the end that I'm super excited about. But anyway, if you think that'd be interesting, leave a comment below.
This is my register a comment now. Yes, please. Yeah. Sounds amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I'm kind of picturing like what's his name, the guy from Hunger Games.
I was picturing him too.
Mentor guy,
Hamish or something, or whatever.
Is that his name?
Yeah. Who's next?
I'll just click on your face, Leah. You.
Okay, I'm working on first pass pages and house renos, and in between that, like my option at some point.
What's first pass pages for people who have no clue what you just said?
That's the first time you see your book starting to look like a book. So it's all formatted with how it will look when it goes to the printer and stuff like that. So it's really exciting. But it's your last chance, basically. Your last chance to change it.
Sounds so panic-inducing.
No pressure or anything.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. And I had to download a new Adobe thing for that, and I was using it, and lesson learned, save your stuff. I didn't save, and it crashed.
Oh no.
Oh no. I'm like, oh my God.
Oh, that's the worst.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's exciting. Still.
Monica, you have some news today.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I got my baby in the mail.
Beautiful.
Wait,
Show us the back. Show us
it all.
I love the back.
Oh my gosh.
And what did the chapter headers look like?
Oh, yeah. Let me put them.
This is like the nerdy author thing. Like every little bit is
Did you
important.
smell it? Yes, I did. No.
Oh, really?
Love it.
Well, I love that.
God.
It's flashing so fast, Monica. You got to hold it up for like a second.
Sorry.
Oh, it's flashing. I'm going to click on her.
Did you do an unboxing video?
I did.
Okay, is that on Instagram or Twitter?
Oh,
I'm
I
gonna
love
post
it.
Amazing.
Those rooms look so cool.
I love the mist or smoke rising off them. Like, that's
Yeah.
so cool looking.
And that's like what's around her here.
I love it.
So,
Magic.
Yeah. So I'm working on book 2 right now, and it's like I forgot how to write, so it's been
Book 2 is the worst.
It's so hard. I fast drafted the whole thing, and now I went back and I'm like, this isn't working, that's not working, and it's just a mess right now. So I have a month to go. So pray for me and send cookies and wine,
Done.
Chocolate.
I just finished my first round of edits on book 2 for Arrowheart, and I am feeling like so happy I'm done, but now I'm just like, oh crap, I got a bunch more work coming with the next book now. So yes, it's scary.
I'm working, like I said, I have like 100 more words left to cut. I'm so close to get it down to like a reasonable length. And then it's not actually called Bisexual Irish Man-Eating Witches. It's called Witches of Ashen.
I feel like it should be. Or
Yeah.
something similar.
It would be a really long title to fit on the book.
Why is the font so small?
It's like the whole cover. It's actually called Witches of Ash and Ruin. It's basically about, like I said, bisexual Irish man-eating witches that are fighting ancient Irish gods. That's like the blurby. So,
Nice.
yeah.
The tagline. That should be your tagline, like on the bottom of the book.
Bisexual with sweet men.
That's still a lot to try to fit onto the cover.
Okay, we've gone over time.
Okay.
So I should probably cut us off. But thank you, Allie and Lauren, for hanging out with us tonight. You guys are awesome.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, anytime. Seriously. Hit us up and we'll have you if you ever have news to share or anything.
What time is it, Lauren?
Yeah, Lauren, what time is it?
It's 2:05.
Oh my goodness, 2 in the morning. Thank you for staying up with us. That is true woman power right there. Oh, I bet. Okay, but we have to let you go so you can go to sleep. Thank you guys. I'm going to tweet the giveaway for Allie's book. You want it after all her really exciting talk about it. But yes, so head over to Twitter, whoever's watching, and retweet that for a chance to win. Okay, bye everybody.
Bye.